Hello and welcome back to ECS Coffee. My name is Rebecca and today we're going to be taking a look at the Pavoni Domus bar single boiler semi-automatic espresso machine. So this is an Italian-made single boiler semi-automatic espresso machine that has a built-in grinder. This is a stepless grinder as well, so you're going to be able to really dial in your shot. Let's have a look at some of the specs of this machine, and then we'll talk about a little bit of the likes and dislikes of this machine. There's some really cool functions of this machine, but there's also some big oversights in this machine as well. So this machine is a single boiler. What that means is you cannot brew and steam simultaneously. You have one boiler that heats up for your coffee, and then when you flick your switch to be able to steam your milk, the boiler is going to rise in temperature and rise in pressure so that you can steam the milk. The machine does have a panarello steaming wand, so it's not a professional style steaming wand. So if you're wanting to do latte or work on your microfoam, not really possible with this machine, unfortunately. So it's kind of just one setting for foam. You have very minimal control over the foam amount. It is a stainless steel panarello steam wand, so it's a little bit better than the ones that are fully plastic. And you can attempt to remove the outer casing to get a better steaming capability and have a little bit more control. The grinder is going to be on the right-hand side of the machine, and the dial for adjusting the grind size is just on the right-hand side as well. So there will be an arrow to go finer and an arrow to go coarser. Finer will reduce the rate of flow of water throughout the espresso grinds, and going coarser will increase it. So if your espresso is coming out really, really watery or tasting very mild, you'll want to go finer in the grind size. And if the espresso is struggling to come out, or it's tasting very bitter and burnt, you're going to want to go a little bit coarser in the grind size as well. There's no programming with this grinder, so it is best to single dose with this grinder here on board. Otherwise, you'll be eyeballing the espresso, which is also okay. It just is going to take a little bit of practice for you to know exactly how much coffee to dose out. I'll talk more about the grinder and some pros and cons about dosing out the way that you kind of need to with this machine when we're actually brewing the espresso. So this machine comes with your portafilter. It is a 57 millimeter portafilter. So this is one of my, it's a nice size portafilter. However, finding accessories for this size portafilter is a little bit more difficult because it's just slightly smaller than the standard 58 millimeter. So your 58 millimeter funnels, your 58 millimeter tampers and puck screens, everything else are not going to be compatible with this machine. And it's also not as small as the other kind of standard now 54 millimeter size that we see on a lot of home espresso machines. So finding aftermarket accessories for this size of portafilter is a little bit more difficult. It is a nice portafilter though. I like the handle, it's pretty ergonomic. I have no complaints about the style or anything like that of the portafilter. It's just getting the accessories that you might want with this machine might be a little bit more difficult to find. This is the tamper that comes with the machine. So it is plastic. So we have one size that is going to be much too small for our espresso and our portafilter here. And then we have this side, which, okay, it's too big. It doesn't fit in the basket perfectly. So when you go to tamp it down, you kind of, look, I pulled the basket out. So if you are interested in grabbing this machine, because I will note it is a fantastic machine and you can pull really, really good espresso shots with it. It just takes a little bit more dialing in. It is made in Italy, it's Pavoni, it's well-made machine, but you'll want to get a new tamper because it just does not work. Neither side works. One is too big, one is too small, and we need the Goldilocks size, and neither of those work. So we will be using a different tamper with this machine because otherwise we're just not going to get any good espresso. We do have a pressure gauge on the front of the machine as well to help us monitor the espresso shot as it's pouring, which I personally always really like when machines do have that. It makes it just a little bit easier and one more tool to use for ensuring that your espresso is dialed in properly. And then we've got some switches over here. So we have a switch for our starting and stopping the espresso shot, and then we have a switch for our steaming wand as well. So when we flip the steaming wand knob up, it's going to start to heat for steam, and then we'll be able to utilize the steam wand as well. Water tank is on the back. It's about 2 liters here. It is fully removable if you wanted to, but you do have to flip this lid up to be able to access the water tank. So something to keep in mind, again, when looking at this machine, if you're interested in it, you do need a little bit of extra space to be able to flip up the back panel to be able to fill the water tank. And then you can monitor the level of the water just on the side here. There's a little, it's not a window, but there's a little cutout so that you can see the level of the water here. So there's no window there, it's just a cutout of the metal, and then I can touch the water tank. We obviously have our drip tray here. We've got 2 separate grills. So one is going to be for our coffee, and then one is going to be for our water and any water that's coming out after pouring our espresso from the OPV. Yeah, this has a 1-year warranty as well. So really, really great machine. And we'll just put the dimensions right here for you too, so that you know if it's going to fit on your countertop. It's not an overly large machine. And then we'll also put the dimensions here for when the tank is flipped up, because it does add a little bit of extra height. And you do need to be able to easily flip this up. Otherwise you'll be pulling it in and out kind of frequently. Okay, so we're going to make some coffee today. We're going to brew some espresso. We're going to steam some milk, make a latte or cappuccino. And then we're also going to be, I'll show you how we need to kind of reset the machine to be able to brew espresso again. Because like I mentioned, with a single boiler unit, the machine heats up after steaming, and the pressure is really high, temperature is really, really hot. You're around like 130 to 135 degrees in there. There's so much pressure that's built up. You can't brew espresso like that. It's just gonna burn, or you're going to just overload the pump. So you need to cool that bad boy down. And there's kind of 2 ways that we can do that. So we'll go through both of them. Yeah, so let's get brewing. Okay, so we're going to brew some espresso first. So I'm going to, first of all, I pre-dosed out my espresso. I have dialed in this machine. So I weighed out about 19.5 grams of medium roast espresso. And I am on the finer side of my grind settings, but remember that it is stepless, so you have so much to choose from. I'll just open up the little hopper here and show you one of my qualms about this machine. So like I mentioned, there's no programmability, but it is a stepless grinder, so you have a lot of room to kind of play with. However, there is this like little hole, it's a small thing. There's a little hole in the bean hopper here, and some of your beans can get stuck in there. So just knowing that that's going to, if you leave the beans in there, you're going to lose about 3.3 grams or so, sometimes up to 0.5 grams, which can actually heavily impact how the espresso is pouring from your dose, okay? I haven't noticed that there's a ton of retention with this grinder, which is nice, and it's also not overly staticky, which is also really good. So now I'm going to throw the portafilter into the little prongs here, and there's a switch on the back to activate the grinder. Now, I have to keep the portafilter against the trigger to ensure that it's grinding the whole time. This is part of the reason why single dosing is best, because I'm just going to grind out whatever I've put into the hopper. So I'm going to go ahead and activate that now. Okay, I'm stopping for a second. Now, this is one of the other things that I don't love about the machine, is that I find that where the coffee grinds are coming out of is not totally centered in the portafilter when you're pressing it into the trigger. So you kind of have to move the portafilter around a little bit. This is where a funnel would help, but finding a funnel for a 57 is sometimes a little bit more difficult. So just something to keep in mind, just knowing that you'll need to just watch the coffee as it's grinding into the portafilter. There we go. And as you can see, I obviously lost some of my grinds, which is why like I dosed out the 19.5 grams, but I'm probably ending up with closer to 19 or 18.8 in here, which is a pretty high dose actually. This is a deep basket for a double shot of espresso. I also do not have a 57 millimeter funnel, otherwise I would be using one, but we just don't have one. So I do have my tamper here. This portafilter doesn't lay level like some others, but that's totally fine. You can also just edge it up against the edge of your counter, or I like to just hold it flat on the counter. This isn't always a best practice, but I find it pretty easy. And then tamp down. There we go. All right, so my espresso is tamped, not that level. There we go, that's better. Okay. And now I'll throw my tamped espresso up into the group head here. I've already pulled a couple of shots, so this machine is nice and warm. This machine does take around 10 minutes to heat, so since it is a single boiler as opposed to a thermoblock system, the whole boiler has to heat up for you to be able to be ready to brew. Whereas with a thermoblock, you heat up kind of instantaneously for whatever you're using. I am going to do a 2-to-1 ratio approximately. Letting this pour to about 40 grams I found was really nice and extracted well. And we were able to hit around the kind of 28-ish second mark. So I'm just gonna turn my scale on. And now I'm going to flip up my coffee switch, and I'm going to start my timer on my scale as well. If you don't have a scale at home, eyeballing out the coffee is completely fine. And then just getting about 2 ounces of espresso out in around 30 seconds is always ideal for a double shot espresso. So I'm just going to flip this up, start my timer. There we go. Pressure's moving all the way up. We're at about 10 bars of pressure here. Between 8 and 10 is really optimal. So being at 10 is perfect. My cup might be a little bit too small. Good, we're good. There we go. Ooh. Perfect. A little bit on the spouts there, that's okay. Hey, beautiful espresso, actually. Really nice. This is about a 2-ounce cup as well. It extracted really, really nicely. I started my timer a little bit late, but that's okay. Smells really good. Oh, that's really balanced. Oh my gosh, okay. So our espresso is really balanced. So while this machine has a few flaws, you can get really exceptional espresso. The price point of this machine is also amazing. So its retail price is around $1,000. And then there's usually promo pricing happening with this machine as well. So you can expect up to about $200 off the regular retail price in Canadian dollars too, when this machine is on promo. So really, really good machine, or really good espresso output, a lot of room to kind of play around. Few little flaws and a few little things that are a little irritating, but you're able to get like really, really good espresso like this. So that's beautiful. All right, we are going to now steam some milk. We'll do cappuccino. We're going to use the panarello steaming wand, and we'll use it stock, just with the outer casing, and see what we can get. If you're someone that doesn't really care too much about doing latte art or perfecting your microfoam, and you just want hot foam for your espresso, or for cappuccino, or to add to your espresso, then a panarello wand is a really great option because you don't really have to think about what you're doing. It's just going to automatically aerate the milk for you, so you don't have to be the barista. So first thing we need to do is turn on the steaming switch so that our espresso machine knows to heat up for steaming temperature and pressure. And so that switch is going to be the center switch here. So I'm going to turn this bad boy on, and we're going to start to heat. Now, once this light turns off, we know that we're heated for temperature. It usually takes about 45 seconds to heat up to be able to steam. Okay, so our light has switched off, which means we are ready to steam our milk. So I'm gonna just hop around and we're going to steam up some milk. Okay, so we have our, like I mentioned, panarello wand here. It is a stainless steel outer casing, so just be careful. You will burn yourself. So unlike a traditional steam wand, all I need to do is fully insert the wand into my steaming pitcher, and then I'm going to turn my knob open to be able to allow the steam to come out. So I'm going to turn it clockwise, or counterclockwise, sorry. All the way open, and now I just stand here and I wait. So it's really foaming up quite a bit. It's quite fast and powerful as well. Wow. Okay. It's a lot of milk. All right, I'm going to turn this off now. So I'm going to shut this knob, turn it back clockwise all the way, and pull my steaming pitcher out. This is so much milk. So this isn't going to give you micro foam like I mentioned. It's going to be that light, airy, fluffy foam. Look at this, jiggle, jiggle. All right, okay, so there's no chance of getting any kind of latte art with this style of foam. It's simply, it's like just wiggly. It's so funny. Okay, I'm just going to pour this into the espresso. There we go. And cheers. I mean, it's still good. You'll want to put in less milk than what I put in. So typically when you are steaming milk on a machine with a more professional style steam wand or a more manual steaming wand, you want to fill your pitcher up approximately halfway. It makes it easy to get the aeration. It makes it easier to manipulate the milk a little bit more. And then you don't have to kind of shove your whole jug up the wand. Now, since this foamed up so much, you're definitely not going to want to put half in, because this more than would have doubled in size. And it's warm enough for me because I do prefer a more traditional temperature for things like cappuccino or flat white, so a little lower in temperature. But if you are someone that wants the heat, you want something that's hot, then you're going to want to put in less than half milk into your pitcher. So maybe even just like a quarter, because this more than doubled in size and it's not even very hot. Like it's just barely warm. I mean, it's good for me, but might not be good for you at home. What I'm going to do now is show you how to cool off the boiler, releasing some of that excess pressure and temperature to bring the boiler back down so that we can brew another espresso if we wanted to. So to do that practice, you're going to want to have a separate container. So I have a little cup here. You're going to turn your steam off, and you're going to turn your coffee on and then open up your valve for the steam. And now it's just water that's coming out, so I'm going to close this all the way, shut off my coffee, and then that's it. This is also how you would get hot water for like Americano. So a better sequence would be to open the valve and turn the coffee switch on, turn off the coffee switch, and then close the valve just so that you don't get a little bit of excess water on the countertop. But that's, yes, also how you would get out some hot water for your Americano. Ooh, opening it up like that, turning on the coffee switch. There we go, off and close. And now I'm going to use this water as well. That came out a lot faster than I expected, and it's very hot. I'm gonna use this water to just wipe off my steam wand. So this panarello wand is not insulated, so just be careful. You do want to make sure that you wipe it down as quickly as you can so the milk doesn't get burnt on. Taking off the outer casing is always best as well, because the inside of the wand, this is hot, hot, will also get milk all over it. There we go, so we'll kind of wipe that down. All right, now I'm going to leave the casing off. We're going to steam the milk with the more manual part of the panarello wand and see if we can get something that's a little bit more microfoamy. So I'm just going to clean up my station a little bit, and then we're going to brew another espresso shot and then steam some more milk and see if we can get a better microfoam using the inner part of the panarello wand with more control. All right, so our machine, we've poured our espresso shot. We pre-did that and little off-camera espresso shot, and then our machine is now heated and ready to steam some milk. So I already have the outer casing off. So now I'm just going to steam. So I have the milk pre-measured out as well. So let's steam some milk. So since this is technically a panarello, I don't have a ton of mobility with my wand, so it's pretty stationary. So I'm just gonna open up my valve. Very powerful without the outer casing. That surprised me. A little bit difficult to get like any kind of vortex going. It does a better job, but it's still not optimal. I'm trying to get a little bit of movement with this milk, but it's really hard. Let me open this up a little bit more and see. There she goes, a little bit better. Okay. It is hard. I'm struggling a little bit. All right, I'm gonna turn this bad boy off. Ooh. Okay, so that pressure came out so hard and fast. I was really not anticipating that. Since the wand is so stationary, it's very difficult to get any kind of movement going with the milk, I found. I think that might have just also been because I maybe started off with my foam being a little bit thicker. I allowed a lot of air in at the start because it was just so surprising. You still don't have a ton of control. It's still very hard to get like really, really nice microfoam. I think that was slightly a little bit of user error. I definitely got a better result using the wand with just the inner casing without the outer part on than I did when I was using it just as a panarello wand. But you still will get better milk foam and better microfoam from a machine that just has a standard steaming wand, not a panarello. But this is easier, right? And I don't have as much foam. It is silkier. The flavor is better because there is more foam all throughout the milk. The milk is silkier, it's sweeter, it's smoother, which is very complementary to my espresso. Whereas my other milk had a lot of like light foam on top, and then it had like warm milk underneath. So it was kind of split. So it almost gives you like a not complete taste of cappuccino. You get like foam and espresso, and then you get milk and espresso, instead of it all being one and having silky milk, sweet milk with espresso mixed all together. Both are delicious, but having microfoam with your beverage is always going to give you a more well-rounded and holistic flavor. But both are delicious. It's hot milk and espresso. You can't really go wrong. But yeah, that's how you would steam without the outer casing on. I'm going to now cool the boiler back down. So let's just revisit that process again. And I'll do it the quote unquote proper way this time. So I'm gonna open up my valve, turn off my steaming switch. I'm going to open up my valve for my steaming wand and then turn on my pump. And now this is just letting out a little bit of water. So now I'm going to turn the pump off and close my steaming valve. Perfect. So a single boiler machine is obviously good for whether you are straight espresso drinker, Americano drinker, or a latte or cappuccino drinker. But what I will say is that if you're going to be brewing a lot of lattes and cappuccinos, then a single boiler is not always the best option, because every time you do steam the milk, you need to do this process of letting out water and refilling the boiler, cooling it down, releasing that excess pressure, which just can become a little bit time consuming. This is also, since you have a panarello steam wand, unless you are somebody that really does not care at all about doing latte art or microfoam, it is a little bit more geared towards the espresso lovers, because you have a stepless grinder and you have the ability to really dial in your espresso shot and play around with it. Now, since it does have a 57mm portafilter, you don't have a ton of tools and accessories that are available to you and easily available to you, but they are out there. So it's no worry, you just might have to take a little bit of a deeper dive on Google. So yeah, I mean, I ultimately really like this machine. I really like this machine for espresso, not a lover of it for latte cappuccino. I'm somebody that if I was a latte or cappuccino drinker, I might want to play around with my milk a little bit more. This machine does not come with a milk pitcher either, so you will need to purchase a milk pitcher separately, which is actually kind of nice. Since the milk foam expands so much, you can choose to buy a really big one, and then you could almost do 2 cappuccinos at once, brew an espresso back to back, and then steam the milk. With a single boiler, you also have the option of steaming your milk first and then pouring your espresso. That'll be up to you as to which sequencing works better. It's kind of user choice. I prefer to pour espresso first and then steam milk. Some people prefer to steam milk and then pour espresso second. This machine also does not have PID. So it does not have programmable temperature control of any kind. The temperature is regulated just by the steam pressure and pressure within the boiler. And then it's indicated by the lights on the front of this machine here as to if you are at the right temperature for your method of whatever you're doing, pouring coffee, espresso, or steaming your milk. So let's just review a few things about this machine, and we'll give you our pros and cons list, what we like versus what we don't like. So this is a single boiler semi-automatic espresso machine with a 57mm portafilter. It does not have PID, and it has a panarello steaming wand. You have approximately a 2-liter water tank on the back, and the dimensions are this. You have an onboard grinder, but no programmability for the grinder. We have 2 separate drip trays, one for the little coffee, and then one for your excess water. You will need to release the excess pressure and decrease the temperature in the boiler after steaming your milk to be able to brew a second espresso shot afterwards. Pressure gauge on the front of the machine to be able to monitor the espresso throughout the extraction. It is made in Italy, which is so amazing. And I didn't mention this before, but the single boiler is a brass boiler. So that's really nice. It's not aluminum, it is a brass boiler. And the last thing I'll mention is that the tamper that it comes with doesn't work with the machine, so you need to buy one right away. So that's just another thing. All right, here are the things that we like about this machine. We like that it is made in Italy. That is fantastic. We like that it has a stepless grinder on board. That's amazing. We like that it has a 57mm portafilter. That's in the pro and the con. We like that it has a single brass boiler. A brass boiler is really, really fantastic. We like the pressure gauge, and we like the quality of the espresso that we can get out of this machine. The build of this machine and the quality of the espresso that comes out is amazing. It really is like cafe quality. It's what you would expect from a product that is manufactured in Italy. What we don't like about this machine is the 57mm portafilter, only because it's difficult to find accessories that are compatible with that size portafilter. It's not an industry standard size, whereas the 58 or the 54 would be pretty industry standard and very common. Even a 51 would be pretty common as well. A lot of machines have a 51mm, so it's kind of an odd size, but that's fine. We don't like the tamper that it comes with. We hate that. That's awful. We don't like that the spout of the ground coffee that's coming out isn't directly in the center of the portafilter, allowing for a lot of coffee to kind of spill over the edges, where we lose some of the coffee that we're grinding. So just dosing up a little bit more than what you expect, unless you have a dosing funnel that is compatible with the portafilter. While we do like the onboard grinder, we don't like that we have to single dose with the espresso or eyeball it. It would be nice to have a little bit of programmability there for seconds, or like a double trigger push or one trigger push or something like that. We don't like that there's a little hole here for extra beans to fall into. Not the end of the world, just it's something small. I'm getting a little nitpicky. Overall, really, really solid machine. Especially at the price point that it comes in at, around $1,000, having a single boiler machine, single brass boiler, I'm gonna emphasize that again, single brass boiler espresso machine with a grinder on board at around $1,000, made in Italy, cased in stainless steel. It's a really great option of an espresso machine if you're wanting to get into the espresso world, but maybe either don't have the counter space or have the budget for a larger size machine or a larger size single boiler machine, and pairing it with a separate espresso specific grinder. Like, you already have that all in one. You're just gonna take a little time maybe finding a new tamper. I'll make a note, the size tamper that you need is a 56 millimeter base, or a 56.5 millimeter base would be even better. This is a 56, it's just slightly too small. I would prefer a 56.5, but I just don't have that available. So this is a 56, it works well. It works a lot better than what comes with the machine that pops the basket out. So 56 millimeter for a tamper, or 56.5 if you can find it. Yeah. All right, so thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and for watching our review. If you like our content, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. If you liked and want to shop any of the products that we used in this video, like the knockbox, the cups, scale, and of course the beautiful espresso machine, you can just click down below. We'll have those listed just below the video here. And if you have any questions or comments about this machine or this video, just drop them down below in the comment section. Follow us on our social media channels, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.